All right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Facebook friends. Good evening, followers. Welcome to our program, Late Night with the Big O. Tonight, we are having a wonderful guest. Actually, this is a very, very sensitive issue. And it is everyone's concern. But before that, I would like to take a little pause. I will just share my what do you call this? My program to my Facebook. So just a little while, I will while we are waiting for our guest. Let me share this to my what they call this my Facebook, because our show is simultaneously aired over our Facebook uh, uh, to our Facebook. Anyway, I'm okay now. We have some short problems here. Okay, I saw it already, and let me just share this before we start, and while we are waiting for our guest. Let me just share this for a while before we will all right. All right. Okay. I have shared it through my Facebook. So our wait actually our show is aired simultaneously in my Facebook. So before we continue, our topic for tonight is about wildlife conservation. Well, of course, the title of our show today is Citizen Science for Wildlife Conservation. And tonight, our guest, he is a graduating student taking up veterinary medicine at the Aklan State University. He is a wildlife photographer and at the same time a wildlife conservationist. We are just waiting for him to come back because he has some problems with his uh, internet signal. Okay, no? We opted to start this early because he's having some problems with the signal. So we were just taking the opportunity while we can. So again, our guest is here. He is a graduating student taking up veterinary medicine at the Aklan State University, a wildlife photographer, and a wildlife conservationist. Friends, let us welcome Mr. Flavio Nava. Good evening, Flavio. Good evening.
Hello, good evening. Good evening. Sa mga viewers nila, good evening.
Okay, no.
Ang
Before we start, who is Flavio Nava? Tell us a little about Flavio Nava.
Okay. So before gali mag-introduce gali ang thank you gid sa pag-invite sa isang imong show Bigo. Ang very happy man ko nga mayari ko sa opportunity nga i-share ang akon nga advocacy. Ay dali lang gid audible man ako. Bation ako.
Yes, yes, very clear, very clear.
Okay. Good. So ang
Pero
and ano to?
hindi, okay, continue, continue.
Okay, okay. So ang now I am ano ni currently I am a veterinary student no. Ang fifth year na ako and will be probably graduating after 2 years. And subong nag-conduct ko ng mga research and conservation talks. So, subong mo ng mga ginobra. And I have been a birder for 10 years and a wildlife photographer. Ang I also no, wildlife documentation as a uh, as a part of my advocacy. So yes, wala ako na i-introduce na na.
Okay, no, that's very interesting. Birder, birder, what do you mean when you say birder, no? You are fascinated with birds, you study birds. Tell us about that.
Yes, yes. Oh, so so actually may duwa ka types kita nga mga enthusiast nga ga-engage sa wild birds. We have wild bird photographers and birders. And meron kita rin ng sapagit called bird watchers. May mga distinctions na sila. Pero let's focus with the two two types. So ang wild bird photographers basically ang individuals nag-engage more on the photography aspect sa mga wild birds. So it's a self-explanatory naman no. Pero ilan nag-focus la sa pag-capture sa story, mga close-up shots, mga clean photos, so more on photography. And they also have some have a uh, ano na gina-incorporate nila ang conservation sa ilang photography works. Ang birder naman niya is another type of enthusiast nga more on just passionate lang gid sa mag identify birds and engage sa ilang mga behavior. Kag wala sila more sa photography, more on enjoying the direct observation ka mga wild birds. So that's a birder and a bird photographer. Ako, I fall into both types pero nag-extend na ako sa research. So, nagsugod ako din sa citizen science. So, wala na akong thinking.
Research,
Answer.
research,
Research.
meaning identifying,
Ano?
tagging new species, what?
So, in the when we pag-abot sa research, more on ano na ako, nag-upload na ko sa mga, scientific scientific project. And, naga, ano na ko, upod na ko sa ibang experts, specialists, nagabulig ako sa ilang nga mga, ilang man nga own nga mga hubra, ilang nga own research. So, more on, instead of hobby, naging siya, more on objective na cause instead of a subjective. No, hindi siya siling for the feelings, it's for the emotion, for the well-being of a person, why na nadala. So, ang research siya, it's more on contribution on science and conservation in more important matters. So, doon muna.
Are you connected, affiliated with wildlife group as of now, or what?
Yes. Ang subong, I am the Secretary General of Wildlife Conservation and Protection Society, which is based in Iloilo City. And that is a official nga organization And ang amon na nga purpose is, of course, is to raise awareness about the wildlife and why should we conserve and protect them. So,
Mhm.
doon mo ng basic na namon purpose. And other groups na gina-joinan ko is more on photography, but I am quite inactive na. So, more on conservation na lang. So, mo nang akon subong groups minentrahan.
You are a veterinary medicine student. Did this
Ay, sorry,
course
sorry. Why ko na batian ang question.
okay, veterinary student, veterinary medicine student ka. Did this course motivated you, or for your love about birds, or birds are already your passion before?
Well, ang veterinary medicine is just a, ano ni, ang became a path, no, for my profession and of course for my to expand, no, to develop more skills sa
Mhm.
akon nga pagbulig sa wildlife. Pero ang akon yang ah, ano ni, ang passion ko sa wildlife or wild birds, no, nagdugay na ita. It started in 2013, no, wild birds. Kag
Mhm.
sorry, wild bird photography. Nag-start sa 2013. And then along the way gaupod ako sa kay father ko, no. And ginadalaya ko na permi sa mga remote areas nga
Mhm.
mag-locate ka mga bird species, and then ginagloan niya ko paano ano ni ano ni mag-communicate sa tao, magpabulig
Mhm.
ka sa mga dapat. And then sige-sige nag-develop ang akon nga knowledge sa wild birds. Pero ang wildlife,
Mhm.
that's been a long time na. Gidugay na gid na, 6 years old
Okay.
ako. And ang
So,
pinaka-hallmark, ang pinaka-hallmark Itali sa akon nga ah, ano ni, akon nga wildlife career, no, ang akon nga wildlife passion, sorry, career akon. Pero wildlife passion ko is in 2016. Kaya isang 2016, I had I had a experience with preview ano niya mga bird photographers, no. Upod ng bird photographers. And sulihin nag-start ako nga mag go solo trips. Kag nakita ko nga may mga areas na usual namon nga ginakaduan lang for birding. Nakita ko may
mhm.
mga kaingin, illegal logging, hunting, poaching, tapos mga trapping, pag wala live trapping ka animals like
Mhm.
siod, no? Siod mo ng local terms ang traps mo sa mga ano na, trapping, local
Mhm.
trappings. Then na siyempre doon na ano ko concern ako. Ako na lang nga amo ni damo-damo sa mga threats gali ang aton nga mga wild birds. And of course,
Mhm.
generally gid no maaton nga mga wild animals. And then dito ko din naging wake up call ko nga i-strengthen kong akon nga wildlife conservation.
Oho.
And dugay ko na gusto i-help ang mga sapat. It's just nga ang photography gid fokusan ko na gid. Ang photography from 2013 na mula naging start ko focus. So sa 2016 dito din do naging napukaw ko bla na nagmuklat mata ko na
Mhm.
ang
Mhm.
reality
Mhm.
it's not
Mhm.
just happy, it's not just about photography.
Mhm.
There's more about the field. So mo today
Mhm.
nag okay, starting today, I'm not just going to be a photographer, I'm not just going to be a birder, I'm not going to be a hobbyist. I'm going to do some conservation work. And then muna,
Mhm.
nag-decide ako nga mag-program research, mag-engage sa
Y-
research kasi research has a lot of ano ni capabilities to help with the ano ni conservation. So next start year 20.
Meaning you took it to the next level.
Oo. And then, isa pa gid yun is, during my days of photography, so before 2016, kaya paging nga crucial, paging nga moment, is nakakita ako sa hornbill. Nan. So, ang hornbill to, mayroon ng injury, which is hindi ko ma-identify. I do not have the eyes of a doctor or of a veteran of the veterinarian. Then dito, nag-decide dayon, na tani kabalo ko magbulong. Then si Papa, nagambasa ako, you know what? Dapat take a veterinary medicine. And dara nagsugod dayon na pursue ako sa course ng veterinary medicine. It started with that one bird na hindi ko mabulong. Kaya malapot. Dapat next time, kabalo kong bulong. So, ang akon nga hilig, it's a more on sa akon niya previous sa akon nga course. Pero
Mhm.
ang akon nga mga professors, ang mga teachers today, they support my cause. Actually, namian sila kay it's a very rare to see nga isa ka individual hatag ng personal effort to do some conservation work independent. Usually
Mhm.
projects na like projects about conservation. Pero ako I do it personally because as a single person, I think I can do something. Eventually may mga tao
Mhm.
na may mga tao na nakaka-gain sang knowledge sa akon nga storya lang. Especially locals. Locals kita ang ako target kay they have an intimate relationship with the environment. So, yeah. Ang question to sa course, ang about sa my course, support, encourage my advocacy, uh, somewhat yes. Pero it started way before that.
Meaning, the course that you took is reinforcing your passion.
Yes. Ina-reinforce siya. Kay
Mhm.
as I've said mo to, ginagamit ko sang skill set nga hindi lang ko siling mag-study birds, hindi lang ako mag-document birds, kundi kabalo yung mag-pulong. So medicine, that's the ang
Correct.
pinakakulang sa akon. So, that's ano.
Excuse let me cut you because we have other viewers from, well, other parts of the Philippines. We may try to speak Tagalog
Oh,
or
sure.
English so they will understand
No problem.
our discussion. Okay, Flaps, let's take this seriously. Let's go to another level.
Okay.
Let's take this seriously. Uh, what is this citizen science for wildlife conservation?
First, okay, so let's break it down. So let's start with citizen science. Um, well, citizen science is though it's like a general, it's a diverse form where there is public engagement for scientific work, no, na you can expand the scope and reach and the impact of research, which most scientists, no, professional scientists cannot do. And ang citizen science is achieved by regular people. So, ang citizen science is someone like me. No, I'm not an expert. I'm not a scientist, but I am a person, no, who is willing to invest the time, effort to help and collaborate with other scientists for their research. So that's the citizen scientist. But generally public, no, public for public engagement na maka reach out or maka engage sa mga scientific works. So ako I I I collaborate with international scientists na, no, about like sa mga ornithologists, herpetologists, and also mammalogists, and that's the play of citizen scientist, where a regular person collaborates with an expert
Mhm.
to form a sort of output that can help a certain cause, especially in science.
Mhm. By the way, well, can you tell us, give us a little background? What is the real situation of our wildlife? Well, of course, no. As you are based in Aklan, in the whole Panay, so let's
Oo.
just talk in a way. It's more well maybe related. But what is
Yes,
the status of our wildlife? Actual, real time, what is
yes.
our status now?
Well, I prefer to set examples sa akong experience kay nakita og
Mhm,
through my own ano niya, eyes kung anong situation. And of course, it has a similar circumstances sa whole world man. So ang wildlife conservation diri sa aton nga country, it's very ano ni troubling no kay because the efforts to do conservation research, natural sciences are pretty low. And
mhm,
not just research kundi there are a lot of challenges and threats, especially involving the public. For example,
mhm,
hunting, poaching, uh, illegal logging. So those three, for example, are very challenging sa wildlife conservation because that's that it has economic value. No? So ang amo na ang mga problems na gina-try solve sa wildlife conservation. And that's just one. Those are just small things, minor lang na sila. Sa Panay, it's more worse because uh, we have little research, no, and we have very little data about its wildlife, and we have very little uh, efforts to conserve
mhm,
our biodiversity. So that's the status. That why? Because I have been uh, asking experts about the status of Panay, about the
mhm,
scientific works done here, and so far nakita ko gid nga crucial ang state sang ini nga island.
mhm,
Kay for example, we only have 8%, no, 8% sang aton nga forest nga ano gid nga primary to secondary forest. Uh, just to enlighten you, when we say primary forest, amo na sa ang mga forest habitats nga wala pa na touch ka mga tao.
mhm,
Secondary forests amo na sa ang mga areas, forested areas pa nga wala pa na that are still that are already disturbed yet holds numerous important species no. Now, so ang panay 8%. It's very that's very little. Imagine na 8%
mhm,
bilin sa ato. Although may ara po worse na. Like for
mhm,
example, ang ato neighboring island pa na Negros as ano ni, 4% na lang forest bilin sila. So that's
mhm.
that's really a problem.
Alarming.
Kay it's alarming kay ang plus the rampant activities of logging, poaching, hunting, tapos sa other human factors like land conversion, mga urban development, those are problems. So ang status naton, I would say 1 to 10, we're somewhat in 8 to 9, no? And
Oh,
but there are organizations trying to work on these issues. But
mhm,
these organizations are very few. Kaya sa Panay Island, we only have, I think, one NGO na dedicated it for wildlife conservation. That is Philincon. I forgot kung anong ilang complete na name. Pero Philincon, that's a
mhm,
organization who has been working in this island for quite a long time. They think 3 decades or 2 decades na. Lawig-lawig na gid.
mhm,
And sa subong ang ilang mga gina-deal nga mga problems prevalent ug yapon, especially poaching and hunting.
mhm, mhm,
So amo na ang status sa Panay Island. In aside from Panay, we also have other islands in the Philippines nga naka-face problems sa ina nga mga issues like Mindanao. Mindanao is a very large landmass pero damo
mhm,
pa sa mga species nga wala pa nataan kag uh, I mean species na wala pa na study kag
Mhm.
plus ang mga illegal wildlife activities rampant pa. And southern Philippines like Tawi-Tawi, no, mga Sulu
Yeah.
Islands, yan, those are areas man nga wala pa na studyohan gid, wala pa na study. And Panay is not alone. Basically bilog sa Pilipinas. For some in Luzon, I think there are good conservation efforts. Negros has good conservation efforts. I know some people there who are supportive of my work. Na
Mhm.
ila to yung effort namin. For example, we have Guahon Eco Park in Negros, naming ilang conservation dito. There's a lot of photographers. Tapos, accessible ang mga roads nila for hobbies.
Mhm.
Unlike sa Panaya, no, unlike sa Panay and other islands, some are not accessible and would like
Mhm.
develop wala for wildlife conservation. And so, muna, we got illegal wildlife activities and our forest habitats or natural habitats are not really that uh, si ano ni ano ko that, public friendly. Wala pa na develop mayo,
Mhm.
wala pa na develop. So that's things to consider in wildlife conservation. In the global scale naman dayon, there are areas na maayo gid. For example, America, they have very good effort in wildlife conservation. Ang I'm not sure kung New Guinea, somewhere Indonesia, there
Papua.
are
Papua New Guinea.
there are Papua New Guinea, there are conservation efforts man, gabing research actually. Oh,
Mhm.
and aside from that, there are other areas man nga wala pa na. There's a lot of ano ni, gaps sa aton
Mhm.
wildlife. So, so yes, I hope na answer kong question Mayo.
What would be that major cause for the destruction of our wildlife?
Well, I think it's the ignorance, no? Sana na ignorance is a problem. Pero I think ang the most, for me lang, the most root factor is the economics. The economics niya. For example, ang spotted deer. Spotted deer has a high price. Ang spotted
Oh.
deer, ang Visayan spotted deer, the endemic sa Negros and Panay deer, it has a high price sa iyang ano ni nga ano nang iyang bata bala, iyang
Mm.
fawn, baby
Mm.
nga deer, may yara. O, diba?
Okay, okay, continue.
Medyo kabisyo ang
Hello.
ano.
Okay, okay, okay. Go, go, go. Okay.
Okay na tumay. Na.
Sige.
Hello tumay. Audible
Okay,
ako.
okay na, okay na. Oo. Okay, continue.
Okay. Sorry. Sorry again. Okay. Spotted deer no, a lot of has a high price in the illegal wildlife trade. So it has an economical. There's a market for it. So once there's a market, there's a economic value sa isang animal. So it is very vulnerable to poaching.
Mhm.
So locals like mga local farmer, mga ano ni, pati yung mga natives bla, like indigenous tribes, the Philippine indigenous tribes, they are pressured because of the monetary aspects ng ating society is pressured nga mag-poach.
Mhm.
So, and ang locals naman also have the same situations. And another is ang recreational hunting. Ang ilang horns ang deer
Mhm.
are used for aesthetics like knives, earrings,
Mhm.
necklace. So those things, those types of poaching activity, ano ni illegal wildlife activity, are are important factors
Mhm.
nga challenge na para i-save or protect ang atong wildlife. Ito to because actually there is a law for it, and there is a high protection, no, in terms of legalities, no. There's a
Mhm.
high support to protect this species. It's just there is there is a market for it. Oh yes, and another is pagid ang the enforcement is poor. The enforcement of the law is poor.
Mhm.
So duga nga, so adding those up, poor enforcement and the illegal wildlife activities, they connive
Resorts
into each
to
other and then go, yeah, do
resorts to
dako-dako
wildlife
na.
destruction. Mhm. Mhm.
Yes, so that's the problem with the wildlife conservation in the Philippines. Plus, it's very risky. Actually, there was this listing. It was a website, I think. Yeah, website or PDF. So, basta it was a reference that I read that we are top two, one of the uh, riskiest countries for environmentalists. So, if you support environmentalism, there is a high chance that you are risking your life. So that's another thing. That's why kulbaan tao support wildlife conservation, themselves to really protect animals. So that's another thing. So yes, amo tong mga major problems, no. The market, the poor enforcement, ignorance, and the fear to protect
Mhm.
and conserve wildlife. So yes,
Mhm. Mhm.
so
Mhm. What about government? What about the government? What do our government
well,
do?
I I I understand the status, no, in terms of the government and local wildlife conservation. I understand the status of the government because to be to be frank, we have a very we are a developing nation. So I don't tend to blame the fault to the government, but they do have a responsibility. But I tend to change my perspective more on the public effort. Now, public effort, locals, their awareness, their willingness to protect. So,
Mhm.
takon, in my opinion, I think I'm more on developing the integrity of people towards wildlife conservation. Pero sa government, I think they're trying, man. I've met uh, staffs, like in our staffs, who are willing to help wildlife conservation, no? But it's just that our status in our country, we are poor, no?
Mhm.
Sorry for the term, but we're poor.
Mhm.
And being poor is not that easy. So, mga wildlife conservation they are treated as like maybe fourth priority lang. Eh, syempre, it's the, mga tao, yeah, people don't really prioritize that because they want to live, they want to survive, they need money, no, they need practical
Oh.
things, so they need a job. There's no time for
Mhm.
wildlife conservation.
Mhm.
So, ang government naton, I think may ara influence, pero I have seen them trying, no. But in reality, they need to work that out. That's why ako, as a citizen, no, a Filipino citizen, I try to volunteer instead of complaining about muni, there's a lot of problems with the government. And muna,
Mhm.
I tend to help na lang. Because I know that someday our government will thrive. Subong today we will just thrive, but there will come a day that we will prosper naman. That's the
Mhm.
reality of a developing country. I mean, we all know the history of the Philippines. So government, they're trying, but it's not enough. But I do understand the situation. So
Mhm.
yes,
So, okay, no, being a citizen science, how
scientists, scientists.
scientist, okay, let's call it citizen
Yes.
scientist, how will the others who has the same passion as you are can become a citizen scientist for that matter in saving our wildlife.
Okay. Yeah. Well, today it's very convenient, to be honest. Very convenient. I mean, we have internet already, the access to information, no, the instant communication with other people. There's a lot of platforms to do those things like Facebook, Instagram. There's a lot. So to become a citizen scientist is not really hard. No, you just learn to study wildlife, basic, just the basics. Like for me, I learned to identify birds. I identify problems, issues, and like pollution. I give comments on how to solve that, and then I try to create small efforts, and eventually you will get recognized by those efforts. So if you do that in social media, like for me, I post my observations in social media. International scientists uh, saw my post, they saw my posts, no, na kung mga posts na kita nila, and interesting ang akon mga findings. Eventually, ang Panay is not, as I've said before, wala pa na-explore mayo. We have little data. Now, ako, sige-sige nga mission ka ako ng observations, mga scientist, sige-sige man bulig sa ako, like help ko nila
Mhm.
identify until naging independent ako sa akon nga mga uh, akon nga mga ventures. So on field, I learned to identify birds and then I submit it. Now, problem is where do we submit our observations? So
Mhm.
Facebook is one thing, pero we have a very famous, a good platform to submit our science, our data. So, ang observations naton are data already. So, ang aton
Mhm.
data, there is a good social media platform for that. So, we have two. We have eBird and we have iNaturalist. So, those are two media platforms that you can submit your observations and eventually you can become citizen science because you're
Mhm.
helping scientists access information that they cannot uh, instantly do.
Mhm.
So that's the benefit of this of citizen science because anyone can do it and anyone can help. Like for example, no, I went to Osman Malinaw Aklan to study a specific bird, but I do not limit my observations on birds. I also target mammals and frogs and snakes. So whenever
Mhm.
I see snake, I take a picture. Whenever I see frogs, I take a picture. So anything that I see that I can see within my own capability, no, to take pictures, I do it. And because of that, I actually discovered, no, discovered a new record. I've set a new
Mhm.
record. Yes, this was a lizard species that was speculated to be on Panay. So it was discovered in Negros, and then there was a following record found in Cebu, and then eventually after 6 years, I confirmed the presence here in Panay. So
Mhm.
imagine that you help you because of
Mhm.
simple observation, no, and by
Mhm.
submitting your works on international scientific platforms, I have helped a scientist who was working on this species.
Mhm.
So that scientist is based on Manila, on Luzon. He is a herpetologist, a very expert in herpetology. Been very helpful with my work. Is helping me identify various uh, snakes and frogs. So that's how you do citizen science. You're just a regular person. You go on the field and then you collaborate with expert scientists, and that's how you become a citizen scientist. So, mga viewers, if you're very interested in citizen science, you go out and
Mhm.
explore the wildlife, and eventually, if anything captures your interest, like for example, plants or trees, insects, do it. Just take a photo and try to post it in social media, Facebook. You can start with Facebook, and then eventually you will go. The expert scientist would recommend that you should submit it here, submit it in there. So then you'll just be surprised that you are already citizen scientist
Mhm.
helping research and conservation. So yes.
So, what are the plans, actions, programs uh, in order to educate those? Well, of course, no.
The
Well,
public.
maybe those, yes, the public, those who has little understanding, or those who poach for economic purposes. How do we educate them? What are our actions or our programs to educate them?
Well, I am pretty sure that that wildlife is is taught on in schools, pero not
Mhm.
that strong. No, but I'm certain that it is included in the academic curriculums. No, in our school about wildlife conservation. But there is still a lot of things to work out. But aside from that, there are programs from DNR, for example, National Greening Program, where they engage in forestry projects, no, planting, identifying tree species, and those sort of things, and captive reproduction, captive breeding. Like in Negros, they are doing captive breeding, design warty pigs, and spotted deers, and other wild birds. And those projects are published in social medias and in books. So those help
Mhm.
with awareness. And others naman do soft projects like public awareness, no, especially in photography. There's a lot of photographers that are trying to do some exhibits. Like for example, in SM there is actually a current exhibit there, photo exhibit about wild birds by Floyd.
Mhm.
I forgot his name, but it's Sir Floyd is a pilot who was a former hunter who is now a wildlife photographer, and he is trying to do some public awareness projects like the wild bird photo exhibit. So those are things that are being done. However, in Panay, I am there. I have noticed that there are few few activities in raising public awareness. And to solve the and aside sa public awareness, when it comes to locals, no, to give them the encouragement to support wildlife conservation, it's more on practical things like alternative livelihood.
Mhm.
So alternative livelihood um, are projects that are being worked out. Actually, I'm trying to work on a project proposal on Design Spotted Deer here in Panay, a captive
Uh-huh.
breeding project, because we only have one captive breeding facility, which is in Lambunao, Inca. In Inca, Lambunao. So we want to strengthen this conservation effort for our spotted deers. So I'm trying to do
Mhm.
some project proposals. I'm trying to draft the project proposal to work that out, where we establish another captive breeding facility and offer alternative livelihoods for locals to reach a certain stage for a reintroduction project for the spotted deer. So that's what I'm trying to do now.
Like,
Okay pa ko?
can you name some endangered species that really needs uh well, really needs attention.
Attention or oh yes.
Mm.
There's a lot. Actually, Philippine Eagle is already being attended. No, Philippine Eagle, Tamaraw, the what the um, I can't recall the other species, but there's a lot of effort. Like tarsier, yeah, the tarsier,
Mm.
warty pigs are focused, are being attended for conservation, and in Panay, however, we have species that that are needed are needed to be conserved because there are few projects. Actually, no, sorry, no projects it actually. For
Mm.
example, ang Panay cloud rat, there is I have never, I mean to my knowledge at least, I have never encountered local projects to save our Panay cloud rats. So these cloud rats are rodents. No, there are big rodents that inhabit mountainous forests, and eventually they are now endangered. Yeah, they are now classified as endangered, and wala pa sang mga, there are no conservation efforts. And another is the Panay shrew. So that's another mammal. Pero what's the most surprising to me, that is the little small species, small animals. For example,
Mm.
I know it's very ano surprising. Kaya ang most underrated natin ng wildlife are actually the ugly ones.
Like,
Like ang king cobra. King cobra is actually
mhm.
threatened in our locality. If
Mm.
because it's notorious na say venomous, every time
Mm.
we hear king cobra, oh my gosh,
Mm.
mayawa ano ni ang ano ni cobra delikado
Bakuna,
na.
oo,
Banakon.
Banakon. Mm.
Banakon. That's a local name. So,
Mm.
muna pagkita panahon, patay. So, isa pa gid yun mga
Mhm.
bats. Mga bats ginatirador, ginatiro
Oo.
because others
Mm.
did it. Pero because of the pandemic, ina-claim sila nga COVID, but actually they're not really the
Mhm.
source of COVID. There's a
Mhm.
studies about that. And mostly again are really not appreciated, but they are very important. Especially, for example, bats. Now, bats are not that beautiful, they're not colorful, some have ugly faces, but they're actually seed dispersing animals, which means they are farmers of the forest.
Mhm.
And another are cockroaches. There are cockroaches that pollinate, no?
Mhm.
So, and then and fungi species. They also have ecological significance. May mga importance din sa ating forest. So, I think, aside sa mga colorful animals, I think ang pinaka important din ng mga species to conserve are the threatened, or should I say, threatened and ugly animals. So I think
Mhm.
people should really try to give time to understand that, because wildlife is not just about being beautiful; it's about being for im- ecologically important. When I say ecologically, they are uh, essential for
Mhm.
the natural course to life. So without them, they the habitat will lost its function.
Correct.
I think there's a very great example for that. Um, in America, in Yellowstone Park in America. I don't know the exact location, but they used to have. I think it was 100 years ago. Uh, the wolves, gray wolves, were
Mhm.
extirpated. And when I say extirpated, they are locally extinct, meaning gin ubos, gin genocide. sila sa they are genocide in a certain area. We call that extirpated. Once the population is gone in a certain habitat, that's called extirpation, which means local
Mhm.
extinction. So ang wolves sa
Mhm.
Yellowstone Park na locally extinct. And since
Mhm.
it was done after years, the deer population increased, which brought imbalance on the habitat. It polluted the
Oo.
rivers, and because deers are grazing animals, meaning nagkaon sa hilamon, they eat the grass, and they are also browsers, meaning they eat
Mhm.
twigs, trees, mga growing leaves. They eat that. They try to feed on those. So they're now because nag-increase population nila, it brought imbalance. And there was a scientist that tried to do some reintroduction efforts. When we say reintroduction, it's trying to uh, putting a new population into a habitat that has that species in previous time, no? Meaning like
Mhm.
may story na daara ng species. So ginbalik, so they introduced a new wolf population, and then actually it brought balance again. So the
Mhm.
waters got cleaner, the tree population increased, the grass and flowering plants returned its own natural landscape. So and it is surprising because ang wolf is considered to be a notorious animal. It's
Dangerous, yes.
ugly, yes, but
Mhm. Mhm.
in that study, they were considered to be the most important. That's why they are keystone species. So sa aton case, maya muna, bats, snakes, they all play a ecological function.
All right, now I have here a video to show, and well, tell me something about it.
Yeah, the photo. Those are bird photos. That's I prepare my photos, right? Photos of insects and animals. That's what may description na to. That's a licensed spider. Spoken for the flower pecker. Yeah,
What
that's
about
a
this?
frog mouth. That's a white-throated kingfisher, also known as salaksakan, the very noisy bird.
Okay, now let me go back with the video again, and then we'll do it one by one.
Oh yeah, yeah. Take your time.
Uh,
Those those are just those are caterpillars that I saw at
mhm.
our school. There's a just just near my boarding house. There is this hill, a very nice forested hill where I frequently bird or document wildlife. And I
Mhm.
eventually saw this clustering groups of caterpillars, and I I I wanted to document to see what species it is because it's interesting. Because whenever you blow them, they try to hold. So if this is
Mhm.
if it's a caterpillar, whenever you blow, they try to move. And I think that was very interesting. So I took this photo for experts to identify.
But of course, they have they play a role also in our ecosystem, even though they're just
Yes,
well.
tiny, ugly
Mhm.
insects. Yes, yes. The caterpillars are actually important for other species. No? Oh, that's just the same leaf where they.
What about this one? I'm very fascinated with this one. What about that?
Oh, I have not yet identified this arthropod species because I'm not really a expert when it comes to insects, and
Mm-hmm.
I still have to update this identification. But it is I've heard that some locals claim that this is a pest, but I do not think so.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're just having a misconception about this insect.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
So yeah, I really have not identified this since I'm
Okay,
more
let's
into
continue.
birds, mammals, and snakes and frogs. Yeah. Hello, audible pa ako, Mike.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
What about this one?
This is actually interesting because I have never seen this kind of flower. I think it's an orchid.
No, that's a
But,
flower.
I have not. Yeah, that's a flower. That's a flower. Very
Uh-huh.
rare flower. I have. I think you can just encounter this type of flower in uh, thick forested areas. You don't usually see
Mm-hmm.
this in disturbed areas, in disturbed habitat.
Mm-hmm.
So this identification, I have not yet confirmed, but I think this is just a native orchid. I have a forestry
Oh.
friend, and they are still working on this identification. But
Mm-hmm.
it's very interesting. It's a native orchid, I think.
Okay, we'll continue with the video.
Oh yes, yes. Medyo nagalag.
Nag-stop.
Ah,
Nag-lag. Yes. Oh, what about this one?
oh yes. The the spider. This one.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. That's a lichen spider. Now there is very little information about this arachnid, but they are known to be good. Uh, they are known to have good camouflage because whenever this spider uh, goes into a lichen, uh, lichens are actually organisms that stay on trees and they're like algae.
Mm-hmm.
But and whenever this spider goes on a lichen, they are almost invisible. Did you notice that it almost resembles a lichen?
Mm-hmm.
It's a very interesting arachnid. I have only seen uh, two two sightings of this species. This is the problem about the invertebrate. Nandun nagalagin man. Nandun
Nagalag siya
nagalagin ko.
gaman. Anyway.
Oo.
Okay, this one.
Oh yes. So this bird is a. I actually took this photo in 2016, I think. This is a Oriental Paranticle. Paranticle. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's Oriental Paranticle, something like that. And it is a migratory bird. What's very interesting because it is in its breeding plumage, which means it is about to uh, go back to its breeding grounds, which is in the northern. Usually, migratory birds go back to the northern hemisphere and
Mm-hmm.
breed. So this one's very interesting because it has deep contrasting colors of brown. This photo was actually featured in the page of Wild Bird Photographers of the Philippines.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a very decent shot of the bird.
I think I have some more photos here. Nagalag. Anyway,
Basta may mga ang audience mo, Big O, may mga they have questions.
yes,
I'm willing to entertain man.
yes, I'm just waiting for comments and whatever questions that we could answer. But anyway, since medyo lapaw na kita sa oras, how I wish that we
Ano ba
could
no?
have more time to talk. I told you,
Ah, yes.
kulang ang 1 hour sa atin.
Yeah, gani.
Anyway, why not invite everyone to become citizen scientist and to take part in the conservation of our wildlife. Your last messages and invitations to our viewers.
Okay. So for the viewers, if you want to support wildlife conservation, please search for the page Wildlife Conservation and Protection Society. Give it a like, and eventually we're gonna do some income generating projects for you to support us, and just keep in touch with the page. And for those who are interested in birding, wildlife exploration, or wildlife photography, I am willing to help. I'm willing to give you some tips on how I do birding, on how I document wildlife, how I practice what are my work ethics when it comes to wildlife photography or wildlife documentation. And if you are already doing some birding, no, and if you're not in eBird, please do make an account. Now make an account and submit your observations. Just type in just look for ebird.org. And if you have other wildlife observations, you could also submit your observations in iNaturalist. The
Mhm.
the quick search in Google. So yes,
Okay, thank you very much. I hope I could invite you again to talk more about wildlife protection here in my program, Late Night with the Big O. Thank you very much for your time, Flavio Nava, and wish you good luck in your advocacy in protecting our wildlife conservation and in protecting our wildlife. Before we end, I would like to thank some friends. Okay, I think this is one. I guess this is it for tonight for this night's show, Late Night with a Big O. Thank you very much for taking time to watch our program with tonight's guest, Flavio Nava, a wildlife conservationist and a citizen scientist. Uh, Before we end, please do like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And I hope to see you again next Saturday in another episode of Late Night with the Big O. Till then, this is the Big O. Please do like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Tomorrow, let's talk about darts. we will be talking to the organizers of this Davao 180 Davao Darts and Diners Open Singles Dart League. This is in preparation for One Davao Araw ng Kalayaan 1 million dart tournament here in Davao City on June 9 to 11, 2023. So tomorrow, same time, 9 o'clock, be with us as we will talk about darts. Okay, till then, this is the Big O saying good night and have a good night. Thank you very much and good night.